All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into the world of marketing analytics.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, right. It might not sound super exciting at first glance,
Yeah.
but trust me, we're about to uncover some seriously surprising insights from this lecture video we found.
Okay.
It breaks down these complex marketing analytics concepts using real-world stories.
Love that.
Yeah, right. And we're talking profit margins, basketball strategy, and even Netflix subscriber growth, all through the lens of data.
Data.
It's all about the data.
It's true, though. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding the data within a specific context.
Yeah.
Numbers on their own, they don't really tell the whole story.
Right, it's like trying to solve a puzzle without even knowing what the picture is supposed to be.
Exactly.
So, to kick things off, this lecture dives straight into a comparison of restaurant profit margins.
Okay.
And it starts by asking, what do you think the profit margins are for Chipotle, Coca-Cola, Kroger, McDonald's, and Walmart? Take a second, think about it.
I'm thinking.
Okay, ready for the reveal.
Yes.
Chipotle clocks in at 10% Coca-Cola, at 25% Kroger, at a surprisingly low 1% Walmart at 2%. And get this, McDonald's boasts a whopping 30% profit margin.
Whoa, that is surprising.
Right. I was like, wait a minute.
Especially for fast food, right? You would think it would be lower.
I know.
It's fascinating.
Now, before you run out and buy McDonald's stock,
Right.
we need to understand why their profit margin is so high.
Exactly. And the answer to that lies in their business model.
Oh, okay.
So McDonald's primarily operates as a franchisor.
Okay.
So that means that they focus on brand building and advertising, while the franchisees bear the costs of running the individual restaurants.
So their high profit margin isn't just about selling burgers and fries.
Yeah.
It's about leveraging a specific business model to minimize their costs and maximize their revenue.
Bingo.
Okay, I'm starting to see how context is key here.
Right.
Just knowing the number doesn't tell you the whole story.
Exactly. You have to understand the business behind it.
Yeah.
To truly understand those numbers,
Yeah.
and just to refresh everyone's memory, the formula for profit margin is revenue minus total cost divided by revenue.
Okay.
But like we just saw, total cost can look very different depending on the company's structure and operations.
This is making me rethink my entire approach to analyzing data,
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers themselves, it's about the story those numbers tell about the business.
Absolutely, 100%.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready for story number 2.
Right.
What data-driven dilemma awaits us this time?
This one takes us to the basketball court
Okay.
with James Harden
Love him.
and his infamous step-back jumper.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you'd think that getting closer to the basket would lead to more points, right?
Makes sense.
But Harden's strategy is all about creating space
Okay.
by stepping away from the hoop before taking the shot.
Honestly, when I first saw that move, I was like, what is he doing? Why would you make the shot harder for yourself?
Right. It seems counterintuitive.
Totally.
But this lecture claims there's actually data-driven logic behind it.
Okay, so help me understand this. How does stepping back actually increase your chances of scoring?
It all comes down to the defender and the impact of the defender.
Oh, yeah.
So let's say a defender within 3 feet of a player reduces their shooting percentage by 5%.
Okay, so the closer they are, the more disruptive they are.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now picture this. Harden steps back 3 feet.
Okay.
So even though he's further from the basket, the defender's impact is lessened, maybe only reducing the shooting percentage by 3% instead of 5%.
So he gains a 2% advantage by creating that space.
Exactly.
So it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
You lose some accuracy by shooting from further away,
Yeah.
but you gain a greater advantage by reducing the defender's impact.
Bingo.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this relates to the idea of understanding the data generating process.
Yes.
Like the raw distance from the basket doesn't tell the whole story.
Right.
You have to consider the factors that influence those numbers. Like, is there a defender there?
Right. And that's what we were talking about with the profit margin example as well.
Oh, yeah.
Numbers alone don't give you the full picture.
Right.
You need to understand the why behind those numbers to make informed decisions.
Oh, man, this is so cool.
Right.
All right, I'm ready for story number 3.
Okay, hit me.
What data-driven dilemma are we tackling this time?
This one tackles a challenge of projecting growth specifically for Netflix.
Oh, okay.
So imagine you're tasked with predicting their future subscriber growth.
All right.
It might be tempting to just look at their past trends and assume that incredible upward trajectory will continue forever.
Right. but it sounds a little too good to be true.
Exactly.
I have a feeling reality is about to set in.
You got it.
Okay.
The lecture highlights the concept of market saturation,
Oh, yeah.
which basically means there are real-world limitations to growth,
Right.
even for a company as successful as Netflix.
Okay, that makes sense. You can't just keep growing exponentially forever.
Right.
There have to be limits. But how do you even factor those limitations into your projections? Like, where does the data even come in?
And that's where we introduce a tool called the population pyramid, which essentially shows the demographic breakdown of a region like, let's say, the U.S.
Okay.
So by looking at the population pyramid, you can start to see like the potential size of the market and identify any upcoming trends.
So I'm guessing this is where Netflix's growth projections start to hit a snag.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the U.S. population is around 330 million,
Okay.
and the average household has 3 people. So that means there are roughly 110 million households in the U.S.
Right.
So this already sets like a potential ceiling
Oh, wait.
for Netflix's subscriber growth
Yeah.
within the U.S. market.
Right.
And then when you factor in like additional demographic data from the population pyramid, like age and income, you can gain even more insights into potential future growth.
Oh, wow. So population pyramids are like a window into the future of market trends.
It is a crystal ball.
That's incredibly valuable information for businesses.
It is. And in Netflix's case, those population pyramids reveal that explosive growth forever is just not realistic.
Right.
Even the most successful businesses face limitations.
Lesson 3, don't get too caught up in past successes. Projections need to be grounded in real-world constraints.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment.
100%.
I'm already seeing how these 3 stories connect to like some overarching marketing analytics principles.
Yes, and that's precisely what we'll delve into next.
Ooh.
We'll explore how understanding business context, the data-generating process, and real-world limitations can transform your entire approach to marketing analytics.
Sounds like we're about to unlock the secrets of data-driven decision-making.
Yes, we are.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
Me too.
You know, it's amazing how these seemingly like unrelated stories, restaurants, basketball streaming services, they all point to the same fundamental truth about data.
Yeah, it's like they're revealing this hidden language.
Yeah.
It's, a code that unlocks a deeper understanding of the world.
That's a great way to put it. And once you understand that language, you can decipher those data points and extract meaningful insights.
Totally.
So let's unpack those marketing analytics principles we touched on earlier,
Okay.
starting with understanding business context.
Right. It's not enough to just look at a number. Like in isolation, we need to consider the bigger picture. Like with the McDonald's versus Chipotle example, their profit margins told completely different stories because their business models were fundamentally different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A high profit margin for a company like McDonald's with its franchise model might not be that impressive if they were directly operating all of their restaurants.
Yeah.
Context is everything. Are they a high volume, low margin operation like a Walmart or a niche player with premium pricing and higher margins?
Right.
Without that context, the numbers can be really misleading.
Yeah, it's like judging a book by its cover,
Yeah.
or a movie by its trailer.
Exactly.
You might get a glimpse of what's going on, but you're missing the full story.
Perfect analogy. And that leads us to principle number 2.
Okay.
Data interpretation requires understanding the data generating process.
Okay, so this is where we put on our detective hats.
Yes.
It's not enough to just observe the data we need to investigate how that data came to be.
You get it. Remember James Harden's step back jumper?
Oh, yeah.
We learned that the distance from the basket wasn't the only factor influencing his shooting percentage. The defender's presence played a crucial role.
Right, the same data point, the distance of the shot could have drastically different meanings depending on whether a defender was close by or not.
Precisely. And this principle applies to all sorts of data.
Yeah.
Let's say you're looking at website traffic data for an e-commerce store,
Okay,
and you see this sudden spike in visits.
great.
At first glance, that seems amazing.
Yeah.
But what if those visits are all coming from bots and not actual customers? Suddenly, that spike becomes a cause for concern, not celebration.
Yeah, you don't want that.
So it's about understanding the forces at play, the factors that shape the data we're seeing. Otherwise, we risk misinterpreting the data and making decisions based on faulty assumptions.
Right, it's so important.
Which leads us to principle number 3, recognizing real-world limitations.
Oh, okay. This is where we bring our projections back down to earth.
Yes.
We saw with Netflix that even companies with impressive growth trajectories can't defy the laws of physics forever.
You got it. Every business faces limitations.
Right.
It could be market saturation, as we discussed with Netflix, or it could be limited resources, regulatory hurdles, or even changing consumer behavior.
Right. And those limitations can have a huge impact on our projections.
Huge.
If
Yeah.
we ignore them, we're likely to overestimate our potential for growth.
Definitely think about a company launching a new product.
Okay.
They might have these ambitious sales projections based on their initial market research.
Right.
But what if they haven't considered factors like production capacity, supply chain disruptions, or even competitor response?
Oh, yeah.
Ignoring these limitations could lead to unmet expectations and disappointment.
So it's about tempering our enthusiasm with a healthy dose of realism.
Yes.
We need to consider the constraints that might hinder our growth and adjust our projections accordingly.
Exactly. It's like planning a road trip.
Okay.
You might want to drive straight to your destination without stopping,
Yeah.
but you need to consider factors like traffic, road conditions, and the need for fuel.
You got to be practical.
You do.
Okay, so we've got our three core principles: understanding business context, the data generating process, and real-world limitations.
We do.
But how do these principles translate into actionable insights?
Good question.
Like, how can we actually use this knowledge to improve our marketing strategies?
That's the million-dollar question. And the answer is, it depends.
Of course it does.
It depends on the specific situation.
Okay.
But let me give you a few examples
Okay, perfect.
of how these principles can be applied.
All right, I'm ready.
So let's start with business context.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a marketer for a new athletic wear company. You're analyzing sales data and notice that your leggings are selling way better than your shorts.
Okay.
On the surface, that might suggest you should just focus all your marketing efforts on leggings.
Right.
But by understanding the business context, perhaps it's summer and people are naturally buying more leggings.
Yeah.
You realize this might not be the best long-term strategy.
Interesting. So by considering the time of year, you realize that the sales data might be skewed and that focusing solely on leggings could be a mistake.
Exactly. Now let's talk about understanding the data generating process. Say you're running an email marketing campaign and notice that your open rates have dropped significantly.
Okay.
You could just jump to the conclusion that your subject lines are no longer engaging.
Makes sense.
But by investigating the data generating process, you discover that your emails are now being flagged as spam by certain email providers.
Oh, no.
Suddenly, the problem isn't your content. It's a technical issue that needs to be addressed.
So rather than frantically rewriting all your subject lines, you can focus on fixing the spam issue and improving your email deliverability. I love how this approach helps us pinpoint the root cause of a problem rather than just treating the symptoms.
Exactly. And finally, let's talk about recognizing real-world limitations.
Yeah.
Let's say you're working on a social media campaign and are excited to see this rapid increase in followers.
It's exciting, yeah.
It's tempting to project that this growth will continue indefinitely.
Right.
But by considering real-world limitations like the size of your target audience
Right.
and the saturation of the social media platform,
Right.
you realize that such exponential growth is unlikely to be sustainable.
So rather than setting unrealistic expectations, you can adjust your projections to reflect the reality of the situation. This helps us avoid disappointment and make more informed decisions about our marketing strategies.
You're getting it, and that's the beauty of these principles. They provide a framework for approaching data analysis with a more critical and insightful lens.
This has been so eye-opening.
I know, it's fun, right?
I'm starting to see how these principles can transform the way we analyze data and make marketing decisions. It's not just about crunching numbers, it's about understanding the stories those numbers tell.
Exactly, and that's what makes marketing analytics so fascinating.
It really is.
It's a blend of data science, storytelling, and critical thinking.
I'm already feeling more confident in my ability to navigate the world of data.
Good.
But before we get too carried away, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've learned so far.
Okay.
We've explored profit margins, basketball strategy, Netflix subscriber growth, and 3 core marketing analytics principles. It's been quite a journey.
It has indeed, and we've only just scratched the surface.
Right.
There's always more to learn, more insights to uncover, and more connections to be made.
Speaking of connections, this deep dive has kind of sparked a question in my mind.
Okay.
We talked about real-world limitations like market saturation and limited resources.
Right.
But what about external forces that are completely outside of our control? how do those impact our projections and decision making?
That's a fantastic question, and it leads us perfectly into our next segment where we'll explore the unpredictable nature of the business world and how to navigate those unexpected twists and turns.
It's crazy, right? Like we've been discussing all these marketing analytics principles, and it's really made me think about all the factors that can just like totally throw a wrench into even the most carefully crafted plans.
Yeah.
We talk about limitations like market saturation and limited resources.
Right.
But what about those like external forces, the things we can't predict or control?
That is a crucial point. It's like trying to sail a ship through a storm,
Yeah.
you know? You can chart your course and adjust your sails, but ultimately you're at the mercy of the elements.
Exactly. So what are like some examples of those external forces that can really rock the boat for businesses?
Well, I mean, we've all experienced a major one recently, a global pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
No one could have predicted the widespread impact of something like that, and it forced businesses of all sizes to adapt really quickly or risk going under.
Yeah, for sure. And even without a pandemic, there's like economic downturns, sudden shifts in consumer behavior, political instability, like the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
It seems like there's always something lurking around the corner that could totally disrupt our plans.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to build flexibility and adaptability into our strategies.
Right.
You know, we can't create a perfect model that accounts for every possible scenario,
Right.
but we can cultivate a mindset that embraces change and uncertainty.
So it's not about trying to eliminate risk altogether,
Yeah.
but rather about managing it intelligently, like having a plan B
Right.
and maybe even a plan C in our back pocket just in case.
Exactly, and that's where data can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah. How so?
It helps us monitor trends, identify potential threats, and adjust our course as needed.
So it's like having a radar system that helps us navigate through those stormy seas.
Exactly.
We might not be able to prevent the storm, but we can at least see it coming and prepare accordingly.
Precisely. And that preparedness is what separates the businesses that weather the storm from those that get swept away.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has been.
We've learned that profit margins need context. Stepping back can be strategic, and even the most successful businesses face limitations.
For sure.
And perhaps most importantly, we've learned the importance of embracing uncertainty and adapting to change.
And don't forget the importance of understanding the data generating process.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's like having X-ray vision. You can see beneath the surface and understand the forces that are shaping the data.
It's not just about crunching numbers. It's about using data to tell stories, uncover insights, and make more informed decisions.
And that's the real power of marketing analytics.
It is.
It empowers us to move beyond gut feelings and assumptions and make decisions that are grounded in evidence and insight.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you hope our listeners will remember?
I hope they'll remember that data is a powerful tool, but it's not a crystal ball. The real magic happens when we combine data with critical thinking creativity and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
I love that it's a reminder that marketing analytics is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more insights waiting to be uncovered. So to our listeners, keep that curiosity burning, stay data-driven, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.